Hi, I am Krista Washington, and today I will be presenting my interpersonal communication project for my Human Services 508 course, Section B09 for summer 2011. As I stated before, my name is Krista Washington, and I am a Christian. I am 25 years old. I am a daughter, and as well as a sister. I am originally from Gloucester, Virginia, and I currently reside now in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm a full-time employee with the Virginia Commonwealth University Health System in Richmond, Virginia. Today I will begin off with my project, speaking of my overarching goal. My overarching goal that I have derived from just my life experiences and as well as integrating the things that I have learned from this class is to be and follow and God and be the best Christian that I can be, as well as showing that through my actions, my relationships, and how I live out my purpose in life. Now, for enlarging the conversation, the concept that was talked about during the course, I will, my goals for enlarging the conversation include listening effectively, forging new trusting relationships, and expressing myself effectively. I feel, of course, listening effectively is important from all of the concepts I learned in the class. It plays a major role in how people perceive you, whether they will even listen well enough to hear the message that you're trying to get or point that you're trying to get to them, and also to get rid of any miscommunications. Forging new trusting relationships. To reach my overarching goal, I would need to forge new and trusting relationships, and I also do plan on doing that by listening and also making sure that I know techniques to improve the listening skills of others when they're listening to me about what I have to say and the messages that I'm trying to convey to them. The last one for enlarging the conversation would be expressing myself effectively. As I said before, I want to make sure that I'm portraying myself in such a manner that others have an easier time listening to me effectively and hearing what I have to say, so that my messages and my purposes can be conveyed and can reach those who I'm trying to get those messages to reach. After reading the book, How to Solve the People Puzzle by Dr. Carbonell, I was able to learn a lot about my personality that I had not placed together, but made a lot of sense after reading his book. In the book, Dr. Carbonell describes 4 main personality types that most people fit into or within a combination of categories. The 4 sections recognized by Dr. Carbonell are identified in the DISC model. And in this model, D represents active, task-oriented personalities. I represents active, people-oriented personalities. And S represents passive, people-oriented persons. And C represents passive, task-oriented personalities. After completing this assessment on my personality, I scored in the CS areas of personality. This particular personality blend represents a personality of a passive but not antisocial person who is loyal yet cautious and calculating when completing tasks. This personality is also protective of those who are close and can be assertive regarding wrongdoings. Lastly, this personality type strives to be humble, quiet, and compliant. Knowing more about my personality blend, I am now able to understand my weaknesses and strengths as a person, and now I can work on them to make sure I become an effective listener, and also I can use these goals and the things that I've learned to achieve my overarching goal. And my background, I do believe, had an important role in why I have this specific personality blend that I have. And I do agree with the personality blend that I was scored under. I am a very I'm a conservative person. I am very loyal. I agree with that. And I am passive, but at the same time, I can be assertive if I feel something is wrong. And I do think that has a lot to do with my background and my upbringing. I believe that my background did have somewhat of a role in my DISC behavioral blend analysis. I never put much thought into my specific listening habits or levels of listening. And from reading the books and the course lectures, I discover a lot about myself and how I was shaped by my childhood in this area, and that is how my listening skills were developed in the first place. Interpersonal communication barriers. I believe that my interpersonal communication barriers would have to be one, which is going to be level 1 listening. Before the readings in this course, I never thought much about the different types of levels in listening to someone. As I said before, I always thought that I was a fairly good listener, and I kind of prided myself in that, being a great listener for family and friends and coworkers. But as I read some of the readings, I found out that wasn't so. Until reading the book Listening is a Forgotten Skill, I never put much thought into how I am an effective listener or how my listening skills were developed in the first place. From the readings, I discovered Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5 states, "Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance." I think this is a relative verse that relates to interpersonal communication barriers. In chapter 3 of the Burley Allen book, they spoke of perception, reception, and attention, and the author said that our perception of a speaker impacts how we receive messages the speaker is communicating and the attention we will give to that message. I was very intrigued by this reasoning, and it made a lot of sense to me after I read the concept. I never before paid much attention to how I was listening to others in this way, or how certain situations or circumstances affect the way that I listen to others. So that's why I have chosen level 1 listening, emotions, perceptions, and semantics as my personal interpersonal communication barriers. The author was great at pointing out how emotions, physical barriers, perceptions affect the way that we listen. Another important point that was made by the author that touched me personally was how semantics can affect listening. After reading this section of the chapter, I realized that I have trouble with this in my personal romantic relationships. I seem to get different meanings out of what my partner is saying, and that I sometimes lead myself to conclusions that were not the intent of my partner or the intent of the message that my partner was trying to relay to me. This section allowed me to take a look and reevaluate myself in those personal situations and step back and ask for clarification before I come to any conclusions. Solutions to noise pollution solutions to noise pollution, has to do with how things interfere with our effectiveness. Solution to noise pollution has to do with how our ability to effectively listen is interfered with. Some solutions to noise pollution problems that affect me personally are the elimination of assumptions. I feel that by eliminating assumptions that I could get rid of a lot of problems that I have with listening, because I feel that sometimes when I am listening to others, I assume I know what they're going to say or what they're going to finish or what point they're about to make, so I think I am not at my highest level of listening during those time periods. Also, during the elimination of distractions, we all live busy lives in this day and age, with emails, texting, and just multitasking in general, working, going to school, just so many distractions that we have in our lives, television, noises, this all of that. I think that it's important for us to consciously be aware of what distractions are around when we're trying to listen to someone, or we're trying to listen to an important message that someone's trying to give us, and that we zone out and block out those noises and distractions so we can make sure that we really are listening to that person and not just passively listening. Also, the removal of emotions would be another important one for me. I sometimes get my emotions involved when I'm listening, and that prevents me from listening further or to really hear what someone's saying, because I'm upset or I'm confused or I'm angry. I'm so involved in what's running through my mind and my head that I stop actively listening to those people who are speaking to me. Plan of action. My plan of action of achieving my overarching goal and applying all these concepts and methods and techniques of listening and being an effective listener would be, one, to focus on my listening level. Like I said before, I was not aware of where I was at with listening to others, but now I can be more conscious and make sure I'm listening at a level 1 and truly listening to the people, not passively listening or jumping into conclusions or assumptions and assuming I know what they mean or what they're trying to explain to me, or even getting my emotions involved or things like that. My next step in my plan of action would be to focus on identity usage. Stewart spoke of how identities are multifaceted and mainly consist of 4 parts, and that these 4 parts